Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm calling in to those companies and entrepreneurs that have been doing business in China for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 odd years, direct from their head offices, and they have hit certain trigger points that are making them evaluate whether to have an entity on the ground in China or not. Over the last 3-4 weeks, I've been having conversations with entrepreneurs, with managers, leaders, companies who have all been doing direct business in China. Whether it's sourcing, whether it's been service, whether it's been selling into the Chinese market, a wide variety of clientele, industries, sectors, products. And many of these companies are at the stage where they are evaluating the certain KPIs, certain trigger points, like, for example, the value of the business, the volume of the business today, whether they need to have staff on the ground, whether they need to have more of an image and presence on the ground, whether they need to have technical staff on the ground, whether they need to have more of a variety of talent such as brand managers, marketing people, IT people, any type of back office administration function. And they're evaluating also whether they need to invoice locally and whether they need to invoice and issue fapiaos and issue in renminbi. So these companies are now evaluating these KPIs based on the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years of doing business. And obviously over the last 18 months, because China has continued growing and scaling up compared to other jurisdictions, there is a real question mark as to whether to establish something physically on the ground. Now, I just wanted to come on today to ease that evaluation process by helping to make decisions. So I'm a big believer in data. And I think you do need to set certain trigger points to understand what makes sense for the business in the long term. One of those data-driven points will be the volume of the business. How much product are you selling into the market? How much product are you exporting from the market? How many clients do you have on the ground? The other would be the value of the business. Does the value of your transactional business warrant you to now think about having a structure on the ground to do all of that invoicing through and to consolidate it through an entity locally? Is that also something that your customers are requesting from you because they want to be issued locally and receive fapiaos? Analyzing headcount in terms of having support on the ground that can help facilitate in the same time zone your business so there's no time lag, because again, China's fast-paced and we have to move at a fast pace. There are all these questions that are surrounding the fact of whether to set up or not to set up. And I see that there's such a dilemma in many companies that are at this real border of whether to push forward or not. My philosophy is this: if China is a long-term project for you, then it makes sense to have an establishment on the ground. But you've got to make sure that the reasons why you're establishing that warrant having that entity and maintaining that entity and going through the trouble of all of the administrative process. In many cases, when I speak to clients, just simply by having a conversation as to whether you should be setting up or not, and what are your trigger points, and understanding the reasons why you're doing that, just within 1 hour, it eases their mindset about what the next steps should be. Evaluating the costs around having that entity, evaluating the costs of having a headcount on the ground, but then also looking at the advantages of how the business could scale up at a much faster speed. If you're interested in having that call, in that one-to-one call about whether or not to move forward in the Chinese market based on the business you've already developed, then reach out. I'd be happy to give you a complimentary call on this. And again, the idea is to give you clarity and transparency by the end of that 60 minutes so that you have an understanding of what you want to do next in the Chinese market. I'm going to provide you with my email details and a link to my calendar, so don't hesitate to reach out. Take care and goodbye.